The people who treat a janitor with respect are often the same people who deserve a seat at the highest table. The grand ballroom of Brooks Holdings had never been so quiet. More than 300 employees sat frozen in their chairs beneath crystal chandeliers that reflected soft golden light across the room. Department heads, executives, managers, and assistants all stared toward the stage with confusion written across their faces. The annual leadership gala was supposed to celebrate another record-breaking year for the company. Instead, something completely unexpected was happening. At the center of the stage stood Marcus Brooks, the billionaire CEO whose name appeared regularly in business magazines and financial news reports across America. Dressed in a tailored navy suit, Marcus looked calm, but there was something different in his eyes tonight. Something serious. Something deliberate. He stepped toward the microphone and slowly scanned the room. "Before this evening ends," he said, his deep voice carrying across the ballroom, "one person in this room will determine who continues working for Brooks Holdings and who does not." A wave of whispers spread through the audience. Several executives exchanged nervous looks. Human Resources Director Vanessa Whitmore straightened in her chair. Beside her, Assistant Manager Ashley Reed frowned. Nobody had expected an announcement like this. Marcus waited until the room became silent again. Then he continued, "The person making that decision is someone every one of you already knows." The confusion only grew stronger. People glanced around the ballroom, trying to guess who he meant. Was it a board member? A major investor? A government official? Marcus turned toward the side entrance of the stage. "Please welcome the woman whose opinion matters more to me than anyone else's." Every head turned. The doors opened. A slow gasp moved through the audience. An elderly black woman wearing a simple gray cleaning uniform stepped into the light. Her shoes were worn. Her hands showed signs of years of hard work. The name tag on her uniform read Evelyn. For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody understood. Some employees looked embarrassed. Others looked terrified. Vanessa felt her stomach tighten. Ashley blinked repeatedly as if her eyes were playing tricks on her. Because everyone in the building knew Evelyn. She was one of the cleaning staff. The quiet older woman who pushed a janitor cart through the hallways. The woman many employees barely noticed. The woman some people openly dismissed. Marcus walked directly toward her. Then, in front of the entire company, he smiled warmly and offered his arm. Evelyn accepted it. Together they stepped to center stage. The room remained completely silent. Marcus looked out across the crowd one more time. "This woman," he said, "has spent the last month learning exactly who people become when they think nobody important is watching." A chill moved through the ballroom. Several faces immediately turned pale. Vanessa gripped the edge of her table. Ashley lowered her eyes. And near the back of the room, a young receptionist named Jasmine Carter felt her heartbeat quicken as Evelyn slowly lifted the microphone, looked across hundreds of anxious faces, and prepared to reveal a truth that would change every life in that room forever. 30 days earlier, Evelyn Brooks sat alone in the sunroom of her Atlanta estate, staring through floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked perfectly trimmed gardens and a sparkling fountain that stretched nearly 20 feet across. Most people would have looked at the property and seen success. Evelyn saw a problem she had been trying to solve for years. Across from her sat Marcus, dressed casually for once, without reporters, cameras, or executives demanding his attention. He looked exhausted. Not physically exhausted, but tired in a way money could not fix. Evelyn folded her hands. "Another dinner canceled?" Marcus gave a small smile. "You already know the answer." "The attorney?" "Canceled." "The investor's daughter?" "Canceled." Evelyn sighed. The pattern had become impossible to ignore. For years, women had approached Marcus because of his wealth, influence, or public reputation. Some were kind at first. Some were charming. Some seemed perfect. But sooner or later, their real priorities surfaced. Expensive. Gifts. Private jets. Social status. Access. None of them seemed interested in the man behind the success. Marcus leaned back in his chair. "I am beginning to think I am interviewing candidates for a position instead of meeting people." Evelyn laughed softly. "That is because most of them are interviewing for a position." The smile disappeared from Marcus's face. "Maybe I am the problem. You are not. Then why does this keep happening?" Evelyn looked at her son carefully. Despite the billions attached to his name, she still saw the same boy she had raised. The same boy who once shared his lunch with classmates who forgot theirs. The same boy who helped neighbors carry groceries. Success had changed his circumstances, but it had never changed his character. Because people behave differently when they know who you are, Evelyn said quietly. Marcus stared toward the window. Then how do I find someone genuine? Evelyn did not answer immediately. Instead, she remembered something from decades earlier. Before Brooks Holdings became one of the most successful companies in America, she had spent years working ordinary jobs. She had cleaned offices, worked retail counters, served customers who barely looked at her face. Those years taught her something important. The way people treat someone with no power reveals who they truly are. A slow smile appeared on her face. I think I know how. Marcus narrowed his eyes. That smile usually means trouble. It means a plan. Mother, trust me. That is exactly what worries me. Evelyn stood and walked toward the window. Tell me something. How many people inside Brooks Holdings know what I look like? Marcus thought about it. Very few. Most employees have never met you. Perfect. Marcus immediately shook his head. No, you do not even know the plan. I know that look. Whatever it is going to be complicated. Evelyn turned around. For 1 month, I am going into your company. Marcus frowned. As what? Her smile widened. As someone nobody notices. Marcus stared at her in disbelief. Mother, what exactly are you planning to do? Evelyn looked out across the gardens one final time before answering. I am going to discover who people really are when they think nobody important is watching. 3 days later, Evelyn stood in front of a small mirror inside a modest apartment she had rented for the project. The elegant dresses, designer jewelry, and signs of wealth were gone. In their place was a simple gray work uniform, comfortable walking shoes, and a pair of reading glasses she rarely needed but chose to wear anyway. When she looked at her reflection, she saw someone most people would overlook within seconds. That was exactly the point. Marcus had argued with her twice and tried to convince her to abandon the idea at least 4 times. But in the end, he had agreed on one condition. Security would quietly monitor her safety from a distance without interfering. Evelyn accepted. That Monday morning, she arrived at Brooks Holdings headquarters just before 7 o'clock. The 70-story glass tower rose above downtown Atlanta like a monument to success. Employees rushed through the revolving doors carrying coffee cups, laptops, and expensive briefcases. Most never noticed the older woman standing near the entrance waiting for instructions. The cleaning contractor supervisor handed her a badge and pointed toward a cart loaded with supplies. You will start on floors 12 through 16, he said. The executive departments are there. Evelyn smiled politely. Thank you. The supervisor nodded distractedly and immediately walked away. Within her first 10 minutes, she learned something important. People treated cleaning staff almost like furniture. Employees passed by without making eye contact. Several walked directly in front of her cart as if she were invisible. One man nearly bumped into her and never bothered to apologize. Evelyn simply observed. She was not offended. She was gathering information. Around 9 o'clock, she entered the human resources floor. The space looked impressive with modern furniture, glass offices, and polished floors. A group of managers stood near a conference room discussing quarterly reports. Evelyn pushed her cart quietly past them. None acknowledged her presence. Then she noticed someone. A young woman sitting behind a reception desk. Her nameplate read Jasmine Carter. Unlike everyone else, Jasmine looked up and smiled. Good morning. The greeting was simple, small, easy to miss, but it immediately caught Evelyn's attention. Good morning, Evelyn replied. Jasmine returned to her work without expecting anything in return. Evelyn continued walking. A few minutes later, another woman emerged from a corner office. She was stylishly dressed, confident, and clearly accustomed to authority. Employees straightened slightly whenever she approached. Evelyn recognized her from photographs Marcus had shown her. Vanessa Whitmore, Director of Human Resources. Vanessa glanced toward the cleaning cart and frowned. Why is that still here? She asked sharply. Evelyn stopped. I am cleaning the hallway, ma'am. Vanessa barely looked at her face. Well, move faster. This area is for executives, not storage. Several nearby employees laughed quietly. Evelyn noticed something interesting. Nobody challenged the comment. Nobody seemed uncomfortable. They simply accepted it. Vanessa walked away without another word. Evelyn watched her disappear into the executive wing. Then she looked around at the surrounding employees. Some avoided eye contact. Others smirked. And for the first time since entering the building, Evelyn began to suspect that this experiment might reveal far more than she originally expected. By the end of her first week, Evelyn had learned more about Brooks Holdings than most executives probably knew. Not because she attended meetings or read reports, but because people revealed themselves when they believed someone was beneath them. Every morning she arrived before 7 o'clock. Every evening she left after most employees had gone home. And during those long hours, she quietly watched. Vanessa Whitmore seemed especially interested in reminding everyone who held authority. She corrected employees in front of others, interrupted people during conversations, and carried herself with the confidence of someone who never expected to be questioned. Unfortunately, Evelyn soon became one of her favorite targets. On Friday morning, Evelyn was cleaning near the executive conference rooms when Vanessa stepped out holding a stack of folders. "You missed a spot," Vanessa said sharply. Evelyn looked down. The floor was spotless. "I apologize. I will check it again." Vanessa pointed toward a corner nearly 20 feet away. "Do not check it. Clean it." Several managers standing nearby exchanged amused looks. One of them smirked. Another pretended to study his phone. Nobody said a word. Evelyn quietly pushed her cart toward the corner and began wiping the area again. Vanessa shook her head. "Honestly, standards keep dropping." The managers laughed softly. As they walked away, Evelyn noticed something that interested her even more than Vanessa's behavior. None of those managers actually believed the floor needed cleaning. They laughed because it was easier than disagreeing. That afternoon, another incident followed. Evelyn entered the employee break room, carrying fresh supplies. Several workers sat around a table, discussing an upcoming executive networking event. Vanessa was there too. The conversation stopped when Evelyn walked in. "Can someone move the cart?" Ashley Reed asked dramatically. "It is making the room look crowded." Evelyn immediately started moving it. "Thank you," Ashley said with a smile that did not feel kind. Then she added, "Some people just do not understand professional environments." More laughter followed. Evelyn continued her work without responding. A few minutes later, Jasmine entered carrying a salad container and a bottle of water. She immediately noticed the atmosphere. Her eyes moved from Ashley to Vanessa and then to Evelyn. "There is plenty of space here," Jasmine said calmly. The room became quiet for a second. Ashley rolled her eyes. "We were joking." Jasmine sat down. It did not sound funny. Vanessa glanced at her. "You seem very invested in this conversation." "I just think everyone deserves respect." Vanessa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "That is a nice sentiment." Jasmine returned to her lunch without arguing further. Evelyn continued organizing supplies, but inside she paid close attention. For the first time all week, someone had spoken up. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to reveal character. As the day ended, Evelyn pushed her cart toward the elevator. Behind her, she could hear Vanessa and Ashley talking quietly. "She is becoming a problem," Ashley whispered. Vanessa nodded. "Do not worry. People like that usually create their own problems." Evelyn stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the lobby. The doors slowly closed. But before they shut completely, she caught a glimpse of Jasmine standing alone near the reception desk while Vanessa watched her with narrowed eyes. And for the first time, Evelyn began to wonder whether being kind inside this company might come with a price. The following week, the atmosphere inside Brooks Holdings began to change. Vanessa had not forgotten Jasmine's comment in the break room, and although she never confronted her directly, small things started happening. Jasmine suddenly received extra assignments. Deadlines became tighter. Tasks that normally belonged to entire teams somehow landed on her desk alone. Most employees noticed it. Few said anything. Evelyn noticed everything. On Tuesday morning, she arrived on the 14th floor and found Jasmine already working even though it was barely 7:15. The young receptionist sat behind her desk reviewing reports while balancing a cup of coffee beside her keyboard. Dark circles had started forming beneath her eyes. "Good morning," Evelyn said warmly. Jasmine looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Miss Evelyn. You are here early." Jasmine laughed softly. "Apparently, I have become everyone's favorite volunteer." Evelyn could hear the exhaustion behind the joke. Before she could respond, Vanessa appeared from the executive corridor. "Jasmine." Jasmine immediately stood. "Yes, Ms. Whitmore." Vanessa handed her a thick folder. "These reports need to be reorganized before 10 o'clock. Jasmine looked surprised. "I thought finance was handling those." They were. Now you are. I understand. Vanessa nodded and walked away without another word. Once she disappeared, Evelyn glanced at the folder. It contained hundreds of pages. Even finishing it by noon would be difficult. Jasmine simply returned to work. Later that afternoon, Evelyn entered a conference room carrying cleaning supplies. Several managers had just finished a meeting. Empty coffee cups sat scattered across the large table. As Evelyn quietly collected them, she overheard Ashley speaking to another employee. I do not understand why Jasmine keeps trying so hard. What do you mean? People like her never move up. She should learn how things work. The employee laughed. You mean learn who to impress? Ashley smiled. Exactly. They walked away laughing. Evelyn finished cleaning and stood silently for a moment. What bothered her was not the comment itself. It was how normal it sounded, as if kindness and hard work had become weaknesses. The next day brought something worse. Around lunchtime, Jasmine was helping an elderly visitor find the correct office when Vanessa approached. There you are. Jasmine turned. Is something wrong? Vanessa folded her arms. You missed this morning's scheduling update. Jasmine blinked. I was never invited. Everyone received the email. Jasmine checked her inbox immediately. Nothing. Vanessa shrugged. Perhaps you should be more organized. Several nearby employees heard the exchange. Nobody defended Jasmine. Nobody questioned Vanessa. The visitor standing beside Jasmine looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. After Vanessa walked away, Jasmine released a slow breath and forced a smile for the visitor. Let me show you where you need to go. Evelyn watched the entire interaction from across the lobby. She saw the disappointment Jasmine tried to hide. She saw the frustration. Most importantly, she saw that Jasmine still chose kindness even when nobody was kind to her. That evening, as employees began leaving for the day, Evelyn noticed Jasmine sitting alone at her desk staring at her computer screen. For the first time, the young woman looked discouraged. Then Jasmine quietly opened her purse, removed a small photograph, and smiled at it before returning to work. Evelyn could not see the picture from where she stood, but something about that moment told her there was a story she had not yet learned. And she suddenly wanted to know what Jasmine was fighting so hard to protect. Jasmine's story revealed itself unexpectedly the following Friday. The day had already been difficult. 2 employees had called in sick, which meant Jasmine was covering additional responsibilities on top of her normal workload. Her phone rang constantly. Visitors needed assistance. Deliveries arrived late. Yet somehow she still managed to greet everyone with patience. Around 4 o'clock that afternoon, Evelyn noticed Jasmine quietly leave her desk and step outside onto a small employee terrace overlooking downtown Atlanta. Something about her expression seemed different. Concerned. Tired. Evelyn finished emptying a trash bin nearby and slowly stepped outside as well. Jasmine was sitting alone on a bench staring at her phone. Her eyes looked wet. Not from tears exactly, but from the kind of exhaustion that builds over time. Evelyn approached gently. Everything all right, sweetheart? Jasmine quickly smiled. Yes, Miss Evelyn. I am fine. Evelyn sat beside her. That answer usually means the opposite. Jasmine laughed softly. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Jasmine looked down at the photograph she was holding. It was the same one Evelyn had seen days earlier. This time she could finally see it clearly. A smiling older woman stood beside Jasmine. Your mother? Evelyn asked. Jasmine nodded. My grandmother. Her voice softened immediately. She raised me. Evelyn listened quietly. She lives with me now. Jasmine smiled at the picture. She worked 2 jobs most of her life. Sometimes 3. She never complained. She always told me that how you treat people matters more than how much money you make. Evelyn felt her chest tighten slightly. She sounds wise. She is. Jasmine paused. She has not been feeling well lately. Suddenly many things made sense. The long hours. The extra work. The determination. Medical bills. Evelyn asked gently. Jasmine nodded. Insurance helps, but not enough. She quickly forced another smile. We will figure it out. Evelyn studied her face carefully. Most people would have complained about the unfair workload. Most would have blamed someone else. Jasmine worried about her grandmother instead. At that moment, the terrace door opened. Ashley Reed stepped outside while speaking. On her phone, she stopped when she saw them. Her eyes moved toward the photograph. Another break? She asked sarcastically. Jasmine immediately stood. I was only outside for a minute. Ashley glanced at her watch. Maybe if some people spent less time socializing and more time working, their assignments would actually get finished. Jasmine lowered her eyes. I will return to my desk now. Ashley nodded and walked away. Evelyn watched the entire exchange. Once Ashley disappeared, Jasmine tucked the photograph back into her purse. I should get back. Jasmine, Evelyn said quietly. Jasmine turned. Yes. Evelyn hesitated. She was not supposed to interfere. This was an observation project. A test. Yet for the first time, she found herself genuinely caring about the outcome. Do not let difficult people convince you that kindness is weakness. Jasmine smiled. My grandmother says the same thing. Then she headed back inside. Evelyn remained on the terrace for several minutes, staring at the skyline. The more she learned about Jasmine, the more impressed she became. But what she did not know was that someone inside the building had already begun planning a much bigger problem for Jasmine. And that plan was about to put everything at risk. The following Monday began with an unusual announcement. An important client delegation would be visiting Brooks Holdings later that week, and every department was expected to present itself flawlessly. Employees rushed through hallways carrying folders, updating presentations, and preparing conference rooms. Vanessa seemed especially determined to impress senior leadership. Throughout the morning, she walked from department to department issuing instructions and correcting minor details. Around 10 o'clock, Evelyn quietly pushed her cleaning cart into a large executive conference room. The room would host one of the most important meetings of the week. She spent nearly an hour making sure everything looked perfect. The chairs were aligned. The glass table shined. Every surface looked spotless. When she finished, she deliberately left a small notebook beneath one of the chairs. It was not valuable. It contained nothing important. It was simply a test. Evelyn wanted to see what would happen if someone discovered something that appeared lost. Several hours passed. Employees entered and exited the room all afternoon. Some noticed the notebook. None picked it up. Others stepped around it without concern. Then shortly after 3 o'clock, Jasmine entered carrying a stack of visitor packets. She immediately noticed the notebook. She looked around the empty room. Someone must be looking for this, she said softly. Instead of placing it aside and forgetting about it, she opened the front cover searching for identifying information. Inside was a simple name, Evelyn Harper. Jasmine smiled. Miss Evelyn. She carried the notebook downstairs and found Evelyn restocking supplies. I think this belongs to you. Evelyn accepted it. Thank you. I found it in the conference room. You could have left it there. Jasmine laughed. And let you spend all day searching for it. Evelyn nodded thoughtfully. Most people did. Jasmine seemed genuinely surprised. Really? Really? Before Jasmine could respond, Ashley appeared around the corner. Her eyes immediately landed on the notebook. What is that? Jasmine answered honestly. Miss Evelyn left it in a conference room. I was returning it. Ashley smirked. That sounds like a productive use of company time. Jasmine sighed quietly. It took less than 2 minutes. 2 minutes here. 2 minutes there. Eventually it adds up. Ashley walked away before Jasmine could respond. Evelyn watched Jasmine carefully. There was no irritation in her face. No resentment. Only patience. Later that afternoon, another opportunity arrived unexpectedly. As employees rushed to prepare for the client visit, an expensive leather portfolio suddenly disappeared from a manager's office. The contents included confidential documents. Panic spread quickly. Managers searched desks, conference rooms, and common areas. Vanessa became furious. Nobody leaves until we find it, she announced. Employees immediately began blaming one another. Some suspected interns. Others pointed fingers at administrative staff. Then one manager quietly glanced toward Evelyn's cleaning cart. The implication hung in the air. Nobody directly accused her, but several people exchanged meaningful looks. Evelyn noticed every one of them. Jasmine noticed too. And unlike everyone else, she immediately stepped forward. Miss Evelyn has been working on another floor all afternoon, she said firmly. She was with me less than 30 minutes ago. The room became quiet. Vanessa looked annoyed. Nobody asked for your opinion. Jasmine did not back down. I am simply stating facts. Vanessa folded her arms. Be careful, Jasmine. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then a security officer entered carrying the missing portfolio. It had been accidentally left inside a presentation room. Relief spread through the office. The crisis ended. Employees returned to work. But Evelyn remained thoughtful. Because for the second time, Jasmine had risked drawing attention to herself in order to defend someone who could offer her absolutely nothing in return. And somewhere nearby, Vanessa's expression suggested she had not appreciated that at all. The client visit arrived on Thursday, and the entire building seemed to be holding its breath. Executives moved quickly through hallways. Assistants carried presentation materials from one floor to another. Conference rooms remained occupied from morning until evening. For most employees, the day was stressful. For Vanessa, it was an opportunity. She wanted everything to appear perfect, and she wanted everyone to remember who was responsible for making it happen. By noon, Jasmine had barely taken a break. She had coordinated visitor schedules, answered dozens of calls, managed last-minute changes, and helped several departments avoid embarrassing mistakes. Yet despite everything she had done, not a single person had thanked her. Evelyn noticed. She also noticed something else. Vanessa and Ashley spent a surprising amount of time whispering together near the human resources offices. Every time Jasmine passed by, the conversation stopped. Around 2 o'clock, Evelyn was cleaning near the executive lobby when Ashley approached carrying a large box of presentation materials. "Can you move this to conference room B?" Ashley asked. Evelyn nodded. Of course. She carefully wheeled the box across the floor and delivered it exactly where requested. An hour later, confusion suddenly spread through the office. One of the presentation packages prepared for the visiting clients was missing. Managers immediately began searching. Employees checked storage closets, conference rooms, and reception areas. Vanessa appeared furious. "That package contained important briefing materials," she announced. "How does something like this disappear?" Nobody had an answer. Then Ashley spoke. "I saw the cleaning staff moving boxes earlier." The room became quiet. Several people turned toward Evelyn. She remained calm. "I delivered one box exactly where I was instructed." Ashley shrugged. Perhaps it ended up somewhere else afterward. It was not an accusation. Not directly. But it sounded close enough. Jasmine immediately stepped forward. "I saw Miss Evelyn deliver the materials." Vanessa looked at her sharply. "Were you monitoring the situation personally?" "No, but I happened to be nearby." Vanessa folded her arms. "Then perhaps you should focus on your own responsibilities." Jasmine looked uncomfortable, but did not back away. "I am only telling the truth." The search continued for nearly 30 minutes before another employee discovered the missing package inside a meeting room where a manager had accidentally left it. The problem was solved. Nobody apologized to Evelyn. Nobody acknowledged what had happened. They simply moved on. But the incident revealed something important. Some people were becoming increasingly comfortable placing blame on someone they considered unimportant. Late that afternoon, Evelyn passed by the reception area and found Jasmine organizing visitor badges. "You did not have to speak up again," Evelyn said quietly. Jasmine smiled. "Maybe, but if I stay silent when something is wrong, then I become part of it." Evelyn looked at her thoughtfully. "That is not always an easy way to live." Jasmine laughed softly. "My grandmother says doing the right thing is rarely the easy option." Before Evelyn could respond, a notification appeared on Jasmine's computer. The smile immediately disappeared from her face. "What is it?" Evelyn asked. Jasmine stared at the screen. "A mandatory meeting tomorrow morning." That sounds normal. Not when human resources schedules it. For the first time in weeks, genuine worry appeared in Jasmine's eyes. And somehow, Evelyn had a feeling that whatever waited inside that meeting room would not be routine at all. Jasmine barely slept that night. The email from Human Resources stayed in her mind long after she returned home. Mandatory meeting. 8 o'clock. Attendance required. The wording was simple, but after everything that had happened during the past few weeks, it felt ominous. The next morning she arrived at Brooks Holdings nearly 30 minutes early. The office seemed unusually quiet. Employees greeted her politely, but several avoided eye contact. That only made her more nervous. At exactly 8 o'clock, Jasmine entered a conference room on the 15th floor. Vanessa sat at the head of the table. Ashley sat beside her with a folder open in front of her. A representative from Human Resources Compliance occupied another chair. The atmosphere immediately felt formal. "Please have a seat," Vanessa said. Jasmine obeyed. Vanessa folded her hands. "We have concerns regarding recent workplace conduct." Jasmine frowned. "I do not understand." Ashley slid several papers across the table. "There have been reports that you repeatedly abandon assigned responsibilities to engage in unauthorized conversations during work hours." Jasmine stared at the documents. Conversations with cleaning staff. Jasmine could hardly believe what she was hearing. You mean Miss Evelyn? Vanessa nodded. This company pays employees to work, not socialize. Jasmine remained calm. I have never neglected my responsibilities. Ashley gave a small shrug. Several employees disagree. Jasmine looked through the statements. None included specific dates. None described actual incidents. Most were vague observations. The accusations felt manufactured. Who submitted these? She asked. Vanessa smiled slightly. That information is confidential. Jasmine understood immediately. She was being cornered. Not because of poor performance. Not because she had broken any rules. But because she had become inconvenient. The meeting continued for nearly 40 minutes. Every answer Jasmine provided seemed to create another question. Every explanation was dismissed. By the end, Vanessa leaned back in her chair. We will review the situation and determine whether disciplinary action is necessary. Jasmine felt her stomach sink. Disciplinary action? Possibly. The meeting ended. Jasmine returned to her desk feeling numb. Word spread quickly. Employees glanced toward her throughout the morning. Some looked sympathetic. Others appeared relieved that the attention was focused on someone else. Very few approached her directly. Around lunchtime, Evelyn found Jasmine sitting alone in the break room. The untouched sandwich in front of her suggested she had little appetite. You look worried, Evelyn said. Jasmine forced a smile. I might lose my job. Evelyn sat down across from her. Because you were kind? Jasmine laughed sadly. When you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous. Sometimes the truth sounds ridiculous. For a moment, Jasmine stared at the table. Then she surprised herself by speaking honestly. If it were only me, I could handle it. But my grandmother depends on me. Her appointments, her medication, everything. Evelyn listened carefully. And yet you still defended me. Jasmine shrugged. What was I supposed to do? Pretend I did not know the truth. Evelyn felt a deep sense of pride she had not expected. Jasmine had every reason to protect herself. Yet somehow she still chose principle over convenience. At that exact moment, across the building, Vanessa stood inside her office reviewing another file. Ashley entered carrying fresh paperwork. The pressure is working, Ashley said. Vanessa nodded. Good. Do you think she will quit? Vanessa smiled. Soon enough. Neither woman realized that someone else was about to enter the situation. Someone whose arrival would change the direction of everything. And when that person finally walked through the doors of Brooks Holdings, Vanessa's carefully constructed plan would begin to unravel. The following Monday brought an unexpected visitor to Brooks Holdings. Marcus had spent most of the previous month staying away from daily operations because of international meetings and acquisition negotiations. Only a small circle of executives knew when he would appear in person. That morning, however, his schedule changed unexpectedly, and shortly after 9 o'clock he walked through the front entrance of headquarters. The effect was immediate. Conversations stopped. Managers straightened their posture. Assistants hurried through hallways carrying tablets and folders. Even Vanessa seemed energized by the news. She saw opportunity where others saw pressure. Meanwhile, Jasmine was dealing with another difficult morning. Additional responsibilities had been added to her workload, and she was struggling to keep up with a schedule that seemed designed to overwhelm her. She had barely finished assisting a group of visitors when one of the conference room coordinators called requesting help with a last-minute executive presentation. Without complaint, she left her desk and headed upstairs. On the 18th floor, Marcus was reviewing meeting materials with several department heads when a technical problem interrupted the presentation. Important documents were missing from the digital display system. Executives began talking over one another. Nobody seemed to know where the correct files had been stored. The meeting stalled. Tension filled the room. Then the conference room door opened. Jasmine stepped inside, carrying a backup folder she had prepared earlier that morning. I believe these are the files you need, she said politely. The room became quiet. One executive quickly checked the documents. These are the correct versions. Relief spread across several faces. Marcus looked up for the first time. You prepared these? Jasmine nodded. I noticed there were inconsistencies between the uploaded files and the printed copies, so I created backups in case there was a problem. Marcus exchanged a surprised look with another executive. The meeting resumed successfully. Jasmine quietly left without waiting for recognition. As she walked down the hallway, she had no idea Marcus was watching her leave. Later that afternoon, Marcus stopped by the reception area while moving between meetings. He found Jasmine helping an elderly visitor complete registration paperwork. The visitor seemed confused by several forms, but Jasmine patiently explained every step. She never appeared rushed, never sounded annoyed, even though her own work continued piling up behind her. Marcus stood nearby for several moments observing without interrupting. When the visitor finally left smiling, Marcus approached the desk. Jasmine immediately looked up. "Good afternoon, sir." Marcus smiled. "I heard you saved a meeting this morning." Jasmine looked embarrassed. "I only did my job. Most people only do their job after someone tells them to." Before Jasmine could respond, Vanessa appeared from around the corner. "Marcus, there you are. We need to discuss the compliance review." Marcus nodded. "One moment." Vanessa's eyes shifted briefly toward Jasmine. The expression was subtle but unmistakable. Disapproval. Marcus noticed it immediately. Years of leading companies had taught him how to read people. He said nothing, but the interaction stayed in his mind. After Vanessa led him away, Jasmine returned to work. She assumed the conversation meant nothing. She did not realize that for the first time, someone with real influence had begun paying attention. And elsewhere in the building, Evelyn received a quiet text message from her son containing only 6 words. "I think I finally noticed her." Over the next several days, Marcus found himself noticing things he had never paid attention to before. Not financial reports, not executive performance metrics. People. More specifically, one person. Every time he crossed the lobby, Jasmine seemed to be helping someone. A visitor who looked lost. An employee struggling with a scheduling issue. A delivery driver trying to find the correct department. She handled every interaction with the same patience and professionalism. There was no performance in it. No attempt to impress anyone. In fact, most of the time she seemed unaware anyone was watching. Meanwhile, Vanessa continued pushing forward with her plans. The compliance review remained active, and additional complaints mysteriously appeared in Jasmine's personnel file. Small complaints. Technical complaints. The kind that sounded concerning when listed together but seemed insignificant when examined individually. One afternoon, Marcus requested several employee records as part of a broader leadership review. Exchanges during work hours again. Jasmine's smile vanished. She was only being kind. Vanessa shrugged. Policies are policies. She walked away without another word. Evelyn watched Jasmine lower her eyes. The young woman looked defeated for the first time since the experiment began. Yet even then, she quietly thanked Evelyn and returned to work. No complaints. No anger. No self-pity. Just determination. That evening, after most employees had left, Evelyn entered an empty conference room and made a phone call. When the person on the other end answered, she spoke only one sentence. "It is time." Then she ended the call. Because after 30 days of observation, testing, and watching people reveal who they truly were, Evelyn had finally reached a decision. And the following week, the entire company would learn exactly what that decision meant. The annual leadership gala arrived with an energy unlike anything Brooks Holdings had experienced before. More than 300 employees filled the grand ballroom. Executives sat near the stage. Managers occupied the center tables. Administrative staff and support teams filled the remaining seats. Everyone knew something unusual was happening. The invitation had described the event as a special company address. Rumors had spread for days. Jasmine sat quietly near the back of the room. She had almost not attended. After weeks of pressure and uncertainty, she felt emotionally exhausted. Across the ballroom, Vanessa looked confident. Ashley appeared relaxed. Both believed the compliance review would soon remove Jasmine from the company permanently. Neither suspected what was coming. The lights dimmed. A large screen illuminated behind the stage. Then Marcus Brooks stepped into the spotlight. Applause filled the room. He thanked employees for their work and spoke briefly about the company's growth. Then his tone changed. "Success is not measured only by profit," he said. "It is measured by character. The way people behave when they believe nobody important is watching tells us everything about who they truly are." The room became silent. Vanessa shifted slightly in her chair. Marcus continued. "For the past month, someone has been helping me evaluate that character." Confused whispers spread through the audience. Marcus turned toward the side entrance. "Please welcome the person responsible for this review." The doors opened. Evelyn walked inside wearing the same gray, cleaning uniform everyone recognized. Several employees smiled awkwardly. Others looked confused. Vanessa frowned. Ashley exchanged a puzzled glance with her. Evelyn calmly walked across the stage. Then Marcus stepped forward and gently took her hand. Many of you know her as Evelyn. He paused. I know her as my mother. The ballroom froze. Complete silence. Vanessa's face lost all color. Ashley stared at the stage in disbelief. Several executives nearly stood from their seats. Jasmine felt her heart stop for a moment. Marcus smiled warmly at Evelyn. The woman many of you ignored, dismissed, judged, and underestimated is the person who helped build everything Brooks Holdings became. Gasps echoed throughout the room. Evelyn stepped toward the microphone. 30 days ago, I entered this company as a cleaner because I wanted to discover what kind of people worked here. A video appeared on the screen behind her. Security footage began playing. Employees watched themselves walk past Evelyn without acknowledging her. Some laughed at her. Others made dismissive comments. Then more footage appeared. Vanessa criticizing her. Ashley mocking her. Managers standing silently while disrespect unfolded. The room grew increasingly uncomfortable. Then the footage changed. Jasmine appeared on screen, returning the notebook, defending Evelyn when others implied wrongdoing, helping visitors, sharing kindness when no reward existed, speaking up even when it created problems for her. The contrast could not have been clearer. Evelyn looked toward Jasmine. One person consistently chose integrity over convenience. Hundreds of heads turned. Jasmine sat frozen in her chair. Evelyn smiled. Jasmine Carter, would you please join us on stage? Jasmine felt hundreds of eyes following her as she slowly stood and walked toward the stage. Her hands trembled slightly. She had spent the last month believing she might lose her job. Now she was crossing a ballroom filled with executives, managers, and employees who were staring at her in complete silence. When she reached the stage, Evelyn greeted her with a warm smile and gently took her hand. Do not be nervous, she said softly. You earned this moment. Jasmine looked overwhelmed. I was only trying to do the right thing. Evelyn nodded. Exactly. Marcus stepped forward. And that is why you are standing here. The large screen behind them displayed more footage from the previous month. Employees watched Jasmine helping visitors after hours. They watched her defend Evelyn when others stayed silent. They watched her return lost property, assist coworkers, and continue treating people with respect despite the growing pressure against her. Every act had been recorded. Every choice had been visible. Marcus turned toward the audience. Leadership is not a title. Character is not determined by salary. The strongest people are often the ones who choose integrity when there is no reward for doing so. The room erupted into applause. Many employees stood. Jasmine fought back tears. Then Marcus's expression became serious. Unfortunately, the review also revealed behavior that does not belong inside this company. The ballroom became quiet again. Additional footage appeared on the screen. Vanessa's comments. Ashley's remarks. Repeated examples of disrespect, manipulation, and misuse of authority. The evidence was undeniable. Nobody could explain it away. Nobody could blame misunderstanding. When the videos ended, Marcus addressed the room calmly. Brooks Holdings was built on respect. Any employee who undermines that principle undermines this company. Vanessa lowered her eyes. Ashley stared at the floor. The consequences that followed were professional and immediate. Leadership positions were revoked. Internal reviews were expanded. Several managers who had enabled toxic behavior were removed from supervisory responsibilities. The message was clear. Character mattered. Evelyn then turned back toward Jasmine. There is one final matter. The audience watched closely. Evelyn smiled. 30 days ago, I entered this building looking for people I could trust. I found one. She reached into a folder and handed Jasmine an envelope. Jasmine opened it carefully. Her eyes widened. It was an offer for a new position reporting directly to executive leadership, complete with a substantial salary increase and benefits that would allow her grandmother to receive the care she needed. Jasmine covered her mouth in shock. This cannot be real. It is real, Marcus said, and it is well-deserved. Tears filled Jasmine's eyes. For the first time in many years, the future felt hopeful. As the applause continued, Marcus looked at her and smiled. Would you allow me to take you and your grandmother to dinner sometime? I would like to hear more of her advice. It seems she raised an extraordinary person. Jasmine laughed through her tears. I think she would like that. The audience applauded once more. standing beside Marcus and Evelyn. Jasmine finally understood something her grandmother had taught her long ago. Kindness does not always bring immediate rewards. Sometimes it feels unnoticed. Sometimes it even creates difficulties. But character has a way of revealing itself when it matters most. And on that evening, in front of the entire company, everyone learned the same lesson. Never judge a person's worth by their position, their appearance, or the title on their badge. Because the people who seem least important may be the ones who change your life forever.